1:30 Central Time on our clock today. So thanks everyone for joining. This is the webinar Thriving at Work, a team-based approach to health and wellness, presented by the National Association of Development Organizations Research Foundation through our Economic Development District Community of Practice program. So starting up today, just a reminder about our Economic Development District Community of Practice program. This is a grant program awarded to NADO by the Economic Development Administration to support training opportunities and education and growth opportunities for economic development districts across the country. As part of our EDD COP resource library, I highly encourage you to check it out at nado.org/EDDCOP. We've got several great resources we've built out over the past couple of years, including information on SEDS training, resilience planning, housing, hazard mitigation, workforce development, everything you need at an economic development district to succeed. Along with our EDD COP resources, we also have our SEDS Central resources, which was another program that the EDA supported, where we really dove deep into the SEDS. So there's tons of information about the SEDS process in the SEDS Central website. So highly encourage you to visit that resource library as well. Mentioning resources we have available, building the dream team recommendations for attracting, retaining, and nurturing EDD staff. This new resource was kind of the impetus for this webinar event. Brett Schwartz on our team wrote this resource. It really shows a lot of different creative strategies that EDDs can take on to, like it says there, attract, retain, and nurture your staff. As everyone knows, hiring and retaining staff has become a large problem over the past few years. And so these are just a few different ways to maybe help your organizations move past some of those troubles. And speaking on that today, that exact topic is Rachelle Howe, the Executive Director at Upper Explorerland Regional Planning Commission in Decorah, Iowa. And with that, I'll go ahead and send it over to Rachelle. So thank you, Rachelle, for presenting today. And we will have some time for questions at the end. So please feel free to post them in the chat as you can, and then we'll address them at the end. So thank you again, and thanks, Rachelle.
Thank you, Andrew and Joe, very much, and thanks for having me today. I'll say that this can be a very informal discussion about wellness and the benefits of wellness and some of the activities that UERPC have put together. So if you have questions and you want to raise your hand or put them in the comments, hopefully Joe or Andrew can be watching those as well. But I have been with Upper Explorerland Regional Planning Commission for 15 years as the director, and we do cover 5 counties in Northeast Iowa. And myself, I believe in wellness and in outdoor activities. That's part of my passion, and that's why I live where I do live. We live near many state parks and national park, effigy mounds. I have horses. I have done various runs and that type of thing. But I know personally, I feel better when I can recreate. And so when I came here, I developed a wellness committee. And then what we did is we took a survey and we actually surveyed staff, like, why are you what is it that stops you from recreating? What type of recreational needs do you have? That type of thing. And then from there, we started slowly. And on the number one survey, it stated that people did not have time. And so we, right off the bat, that was our very first item, was to give them 15 minutes extra to add to a break throughout the day or their lunch. So that would give them enough time to do, that would be 30 minutes for a break then and 45 minutes for a lunch break, and to recreate of some sort, whether it be yoga, going for a walk, that type of thing. With the reasons why I did it is exactly what Brett was saying, was for the attracting and more so retaining our staff, our current staff, and then nurturing them. So the benefits that I see, are obviously employee health, improving employees' health, increasing productivity, reduced absenteeism, building higher employee morale, lowering health costs. Our agency does do a cost share. We buy down our employees' deductible to $750. And so, we are, as an agency, we're feeling that difference if folks do meet their deductible. Lowering healthcare costs for our individuals, for our staff, improved, and what I'm seeing is an improved employee retention. And that's exactly why, we moved to this. Reducing stress levels. I'll have some staff that, as you all do, there's some difficult conversations and they might need to take a 15-minute or a 30-minute break after some of those conversations. Positive company image that comes from our staff, as you well know, and how they project themselves in our communities and our counties, and that's a benefit. And then teamwork and camaraderie. We do a lot of walking, hiking types of things, and I think most of the staff actually take part. We have 15 staff members right now, and traditionally we have about 12 that are consistent with participation in our activities. The other 3 can participate in some of the activities that I'm going to share about, but not necessarily some of the walking activities. And then, just to have that work balance, that work-life balance. I have 2 young adult children, and they're talking about work-life balance all the time. So, I'm glad that I'm hip and I'm up on what they're projecting. So as I mentioned, we completed the survey, and then we did the add 15 minutes to a morning break or a lunch break or an afternoon break. One thing that we developed is a 100-point challenge. It's a holistic approach to wellness. We try to hit on different varieties or dimensions of wellness, whether it's physical, emotional, intellectual, social, environmental, and financial. So within that 100-point challenge every year, it starts in January and runs through about the end of November, and then December we review those. We could have anything from picking up trash in there, doing a mammogram. We did biometric training or biometric readings. We actually brought in home health care, and they did the biometric, the blood draws right in our office. We've done take time for daily devotion or reading. And if you read something, give us a short synopsis about what that was. Sharing a healthy recipe or bringing in something that was healthy to share. Donating plasma. Lots of different things can go on that 100-point challenge, where I think staff can be successful in meeting that challenge, and then we give them $100 less taxes in a separate check at the end of the year. We have everything from water drinking challenges. We talk about, making your streak challenge. Like if you're going to be, like we have examples in there, cutting out pop, drinking more water. Maybe you want to do daily movement, and then we'll provide them with the documentation for them to actually document that streak so they can kind of keep track of that. And from time to time, we don't always, but from time to time, if we have some extra funds and we want to give out little prizes for those that actually to meet that challenge, we do that sometimes as well. A kindness challenge, just we know kindness is our friend, and just being able to document or tell us that you were kind to others, whether it be in-house or out of house. Over Thanksgiving to New Year's, we do a hold for the holidays, and sometimes under unpopular belief, people actually weigh in and then they weigh out after the new year. And it's just about not losing weight, but just holding. And we've been very cautious about doing any type of weight loss program or encouraging that. If they want to do that on their own within their streak challenge or some other challenge, they certainly can, but we're not going to be telling anybody that they need to be losing weight. The walking challenge, the goal, would be to walk 3 times per week, and folks document that. Now that could be a challenge on its own, but it could also be within that 100-point challenge as well. So it kind of be twofold. They'd be getting points for that, but then they'd also be getting points for their walking challenge. Sleep and relaxation. We try to do that in March. Or February, it's a short month. And, to try to get 8 hours of sleep consistently for our staff. We try to promote that. Some people kind of laugh about that, like, oh, I want to do that one. Well, they can. Gratitude challenge. Usually we do that around Thanksgiving time to be thankful. We've given folks, 5 different sheets of paper where they can put what they're grateful for, and they can post it on their office doors. So everyone can kind of see what others are grateful for. Mindful bingo, prioritizing mental health. Mental health month is in May. I actually give the staff a day off in May, and I tell them to do something that's good for their mental health or their brain health. And then I want them to report back to our committee on what did you do. And some people, one younger couple, one lady who worked for us, she's like, my husband and I had a day date. We have never had a day date. Their children went to school that day. She took a day off during the week, and her husband took the time together to do something, to just be together. So we've had people read books, to hiking, to different activities, but whatever is beneficial to them is what we want. We want it to be beneficial to them and something that helps them. Summer movement challenge. We could have a month where we say we want everybody to get 22 minutes in a day of activity, whether it be gardening or walking. We do try to promote walking meetings. So if I want to visit with another staff, I might ask them, hey, you want to walk around the block? You want to talk about this? If we don't need to take minutes or notes, or I can take notes later, we really encourage that. Spread the love, we'll be doing now in this month. Again, showing love and kindness and empathy to others. And they write down what they appreciate in other coworkers, and then they put it on other people's other coworkers' office doors, so everyone can kind of see that. Earth-friendly actions, trying to do more of that within our own office, utilizing, the paper, if it's printed on one side of the page, try to utilizing that for notes, for note-taking paper. We did get rid of our paper towels within our restroom and have gone to hand dryers, things like that. And then just picking up trash too around the community. It's good for our community to see that we are a business here, and what we do, impacts. It brings more public relations to our agency. The biometric screening, as I mentioned, we brought in our home health care, our blood teams within a certain medical facility within here. They've actually come on site, drawn blood, and then given us that blood work panel. And that's interesting to follow if you're doing that every year or every other year, as you well know. We have a lot of staff that are a little bit younger. I'm getting the blood work anyway at my appointment, but a lot of them aren't to that age yet, so they're not looking at that. But I think a lot of staff enjoy that, looking at those results. And then we have a bingo from time to time, and it could be, as you can see, making up your own challenge, a physical activity. There's a sleep, like, did I get 8 hours of sleep for 3 days in a row? And you can X that off. We can take all of the gamut of the different activities and put it onto one bingo sheet. With other opportunities and activities that we've held over the course is a scavenger hunt around town. We have 3 different departments, and I took the departments and split them up. So they were forced to work with somebody else in a different department. And then we had scavenger hunt across town, like, bring in 5 pieces of trash. Where is a coffee shop? Where is the post office? That type of thing. It worked out really well for us to do that. When we merged offices into one location, somewhere in Postville, somewhere in Decorah. So when everyone came to Decorah, it was a good time to show them where everything was in the city of Decorah. But it was also an excellent way to do camaraderie and getting to know your other staff, the other team members on other staff, or on other staff on other teams, excuse me. We did attend a staff cooking class where they talked about cooking with items that I don't ordinarily cook with, quinoa, or not the traditional types of items, and healthier options. We have held somebody's sister as a yoga instructor. She came in and did some yoga within our agency. Like I mentioned, the walking meetings. We do have some raised garden beds outside of our office. And we were able to plant some seeds in the spring. And then we took those seedlings and put them outside, those small plants, and put them in our little garden boxes. And everybody just kind of, if they walked by and pulled out some weeds, that was great. But then we kind of shared in the profits of that produce as well. And that was kind of fun. And then wellness hikes. We've been doing one a month. We didn't get out in January yet, but due to the cold, but we will probably pick that up again in April, March or April, but hitting on local trails. And it's a good time for staff just to, I can see staff that are working together on projects actually still visiting about those projects, but then also I can see staff getting to know each other on a more personal level. So it's kind of twofold for myself. Well, threefold if you throw in the wellness side of it. We've held budgeting and budget setting and tracking. We've held retirement training, brought Edward Jones in and talked about estate planning and retirement. We've held off-site excursions. We went to Yellow River State Forest, and forestry employee kind of gave us a synopsis about the state forest, talked about some birds and different vegetation in the forest. And then we took a little hike and had a lunch there. And the last thing that actually we just brought up this year was for anxiety or depression or just stress related in the office was just having some puzzles, just bringing some puzzles. And we did print off some coloring pages, and staff were able to go into the conference room on a separate table and just work on a puzzle if they wanted to for their 15-minute break, or color a picture. And if they colored something, they could hang it on our bulletin board in the basement. And we're really trying to use our bulletin board, that's kind of where our refrigerators are at, to get to know employees for different things. We're hanging, we could be hanging our kindness challenge, acts of kindness down there, or getting to know a specific staff member. So just some innovative ways that we've been trying to attract or retain and then nurture relationships within house for our staff. But I don't know if there's any questions. I see the chat.
Yeah, thank you, Rachelle, and we can jump into the chat as well here in a second. And looks like Stephanie has a question. Stephanie, you can go ahead and come off mute if you want, or take a look at that.
Oops. Yeah, that was great. My quick question, we recently just did like a culture survey internally and trying to identify the things that help with work-life balance as part of it. were these ideas that came up through a committee because we put together a working group to try to be responsive to some of the results of that survey? And I was just curious how all these great ideas came about. Was that with staff input, or was there like a committee that did this, or how you got to these wonderful things?
Right. I developed a committee and I tried to, there's 4 of us, and I tried to take one person, it was a volunteer situation, where I asked, we have 3 different departments and then myself, and I asked one from each department to assist. And yeah, I kind of talked about why I wanted to do something in wellness. And of course, the people that volunteered understood and were appreciative of the fact that there was benefits and they could benefit from these items. But we worked, some of them we just Googled, and some of them they had ideas. The 3 others, the committee members did. Some of them came from the surveys, like what would you be willing to do? What are types of wellness activities that you enjoy. And we've added more of the environmental and the financial wellness as the years have gone. We've been doing this for probably 5 to 7 years now. So we've added more on those 2 elements than we did the first year. First, it was probably more physical and social than it was intellectual, environmental, or financial. But yeah, and then we also have PDCM as our healthcare insurance, and they actually we could pay them to do this for us, but we really felt that we could do this in-house and very inexpensively. I mean, really, I'm not expending any money. We do have in our basement, as I mentioned, we put a treadmill. We got actually 2 treadmills for free by just putting it out to the public. And then there's a bicycle down there. And now we've added a yoga mat and some weights and a ball. And if folks want to go down there and recreate for that time frame, they can do that as well. So it's really been inexpensive for us, other than me giving them the 15 minutes. But I don't believe that's not really costing our agency a lot. So the benefits are greater.
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. And any other questions, feel free to jump off of mute or post them in the chat.
I've got a question. Sorry, I couldn't figure out how to do the raised hand symbol on there. This is great. Rachelle, have you all been able to quantify increased productivity? I mean, how do you track that, or have you been able to track that and keep a record to show that this is actually paying off?
We have not done any quantification whatsoever with productivity, absenteeism. We have not done anything like that. I can tell you that we have not lost any employees in the last 7 years. And I think that when we talk about our staff, when we talk to our staff and ask them if they have any ideas or other, challenge ideas, that is the number one, that and our flex time is the number one reason that they're here.
Thank you. Good info.
But we should quantify it. I'm writing myself a note.
I'd say not losing any staff over 7 years is a pretty good factor. I think that's pretty impressive. Yeah. All right, folks. Any other questions? Still have some time here, and I'm sure Rachelle's happy to keep discussing if anyone else has any questions.
I actually would like to take, and we've been trying to do this with our regional economic development group, as we're the EDD, very similar to what you all are. With our 5-county economic development group, I would like to take and host a wellness summit. We've been talking about that now, and having different panelists and seeing what other businesses are doing and helping them, encouraging other businesses to try to do something. They don't have to do this extensive. Nobody does. But if you provide a couple a year, I think it would be beneficial.
Yeah, and that could definitely have a wider economic impact in your region as well.
Right, right.
And Stephanie, it looks like your hand's raised again.
Yeah, just real quick. So, two kind of questions. One, how large is your staff? Because we have about 125 employees. We're trying to
Yeah.
think of ways to manage that where everybody in some are remote. So trying to think of some things that can happen interactively remotely. And then the
Mhm.
second, are these all done during work hours or are some, off work hours where people volunteer, like the trash picking up and all that? Because we actually were thinking of service projects as well, but that would have to be off work time.
Yeah. All, the majority of, let's see, that we have 15 staff, so that I realize that is very different than 100 and some staff. So I can see that might be a bigger challenge. Within all of them, but within some of the activities within the 100-point challenge, there's some activities on that challenge specifically, and I can send that to Andrew and he can forward it. But there are some on there like that would be volunteering hours, volunteering 20 hours or 40 hours uh, uh, um, a year. But the rest of them are all done during work hours. Like I bring in a speaker for the estate planning or the financial planning. They would do their, most of them don't take time. The walking challenge, they're going to do that on the 15 minutes that I've given them to add to a 15-minute break. The water challenge, I mean, if they're keeping track of it, they might be keeping track of it on my company time, but for the most part, those items aren't too time consuming.
And it looks like Rachelle Nugent has a question as well. Go ahead, Rachelle.
I don't necessarily have a question. I also work for a regional planning agency, and we run a medical rate stabilization committee. And I will say, I've been doing that for 10 years with different entities, and this is a great list of activities for people to do. They're very inclusive. I also have my master's in health and wellness management. So I really think that using the EDD to do a wellness summit is a great idea to bring it to your community. I think building upon the wellness aspect it is great, and anything you can do for it. So great. Thank you for sharing this.
Yeah, thank you.
And we will be sharing out this graphic as well as the recording of this presentation to everyone that registered. So you can definitely take any of these examples, I'm sure, and run with it. I don't think Rachelle considers it proprietary information.
No.
We always say at NADO, if you can cut and copy and paste, do
Right.
it. So feel free to take any of these on that work for your organization.
We did take our volunteerism over the holidays. We always, our agency kind of, and I bring this up at a staff meeting, what would you like to do this year to give back to the community during the holidays? And we worked with DHS, Department of Human Services, and we've done suitcases for kids that are taken out of their home in the middle of the night due to some issue within the home. We have given with our community action groups, there are families that are in need, and they have trees and they have little tags on the tree, and it's like boots size 7 for a boy, or it could be a coat for a girl, or such and such for an adult. And we'll try to take a family off that tree, and then we gather money or items, and staff do that on their own. But they bring them in here so we can give it to that agency for that family collectively as an agency. It's a good way for us to market that we're giving back to the community as an agency, and partnering with another agency is what I like. And then we try to make, we put it in our newsletter and brag about it a little bit as well. But we did volunteer this last year at our food banks, and man, was the staff really enjoyed that, like learning about the food banks. Some folks, we have 5 different ones within each county, and some we hit all 5 with our 15 different staff. I did pay them, but I also let them put down that as their volunteering time, which I know that's an oxymoron, but they really enjoyed. Some unloaded a semi truck of food, some bagged groceries within the food bank for people that were going to pick them up. So they did different activities, and they came back and talked about it, and what an impact the food banks have on our region. So it's a good way for us to learn about another agency and what they're doing. And sometimes we're working with the same clients, but okay, so now how can we help that same client that we work with get them food or get them fuel assistance? So
Yeah, thank you, Rachelle. And we do have time for maybe one more question before we wrap up here. Thanks again to Rachelle and Upper Explorerland RPC. As you can tell, just great examples of ways you can really help, nurture and retain and make your workplace a more attractive place to work and a more beneficial place for everyone on your staff. Stephanie, looks like we have one more.
Yeah, you can tell I'm really into this because we've just started this kind of a thing at our organization. So one thing we're thinking about doing is to get to the question about quantifying, maybe not really quantifying, but we're going to try to do some more qualitative, feedback at the end of a year to see, because we did the initial qualitative survey to kind of identify what people's issues were and job satisfaction and, work-life balance, obviously, as all you probably find emerges as one of the top things. And then we're trying to pick around that area first. What are some of the things we can address, and then put some things together over the course of this calendar year, and then do, another qualitative survey. And that's just because we're so big, to try to see, were people able to take advantage of some of these, which ones did they like, which ones didn't yield as many participants and things like that. But that quantitative piece is pretty interesting. If there were ways to get at that, I'd be open to hearing any ideas after this. Joe and Andrew, if you hear of ways people quantify, it'd be great to learn about that.
Definitely, it's an interesting topic. I'll definitely follow up with you on that. All right, folks. Well, it looks like we're out of questions here. Thank you again to Rachelle for the time spent and for sharing all these ideas. And we will be sending out the slides and recording of the presentation, so you can all see some of these ideas, spend a little more time with them, try to figure out what works for your organization. So thanks again for coming today. I encourage you to check out the NADO website, as well as all the different resources we mentioned earlier. As well as the written resource I mentioned that we have, that goes through not only Rachelle's example, but also several different organizations and EDDs on what they're doing in this topic. So thanks again, and look forward to seeing y'all soon.
thank you.